Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and we are back with another speed build. For this speed build, I ended up building in Glimmerbrook because I decided to build a storybook kind of vibe house. I was kind of just going through Pinterest to kind of get ideas of what to build, and then I saw that like storybook kind of vibe houses, and I thought they were really cute, and I've never really built anything before like that, and I figured I would go ahead and challenge myself. So that's kind of the vibes, and I felt like obviously with Glimmerbrook being the kind of like spellcaster world, it would fit really well in the world and everything. So I built it on pretty much the only empty lot there because I didn't want it to be like a too super big house. I've been really trying to go for like smaller houses lately because some of the bigger houses that I've built, or bigger builds in general that I've built, they've just taken so long, and like the editing and everything is just not ideal. One thing that I've been struggling with is like I feel like lately I've been building worlds that I normally don't build in, and the biggest problem I have is the lighting in all of the world, or most of the worlds, are so bad, and so it's like really hard to find like good lighting. So but that was just one little challenge that I had there. But I kind of just wanted it, I didn't really have any like kind of vibe that I wanted to go for with like what I wanted the inside to look like, or really how I wanted any of it to look like, except for just the shape of like wanting the curved roofs and stuff like that. That was kind of the only thing that I really knew that I wanted is just for how it was supposed to look on the outside. So I was not too sure of exactly what I was going to do on the inside, but I wanted it to kind of match kind of the like occult, especially like spellcaster occult kind of vibe. So I was mainly sticking with like things from like Cottage living, obviously. Is it called Realm of Magic? I think that's what the pack is called. Don't quote me on that. I'm terrible with remembering pack names, but pretty much any of the packs that kind of have like that fantasy, cottagey, cozy kind of woodsy look. I feel like I said a lot of different descriptions, but like if you catch my drift, like fairy tale vibes basically is what I was going for. So I mean, obviously that was the for rent, and I do believe that I keep that couch. So I mean, but it kind of fits. It has like that woodsy look, and like the pillows I think kind of help and everything like that. So it kind of all kind of goes together. The biggest problem that I felt is I'm just not someone that uses a lot of pattern. So I find it really hard sometimes to like incorporate that. But then I ended up going with some like mushroom chairs. So clearly, I guess maybe it's not as big of an issue as I think that it is. I did on occasion use the storybook filter that's actually in the build by mode, but I honestly didn't find it too helpful because I feel like some things that I had in mind, it wouldn't be included in that, and I was so frustrated with the flooring because I thought that the flooring that comes with the Glimmerbrook, or with Realm of Magic technically, looked really well, or looked really good, but I just hated how like random the little like details were on the floor. It just didn't make any sense to me, so I just nixed that and went with something else. But I actually ended up using a good bit of the for rent pack stuff. I don't know if it's just because it's new and so I am leaning more towards it, but I also kind of feel like it kind of matches that kind of like, you know, fairy tale-esque vibe. I don't know, maybe it's just me, or maybe, like I said, it's just new and I keep on gravitating towards it. Who knows? I don't. I honestly wasn't too sure what like color scheme I really wanted to go for or go with the build, because I really like the light wood with the counters, but obviously a lot of the rest of the room, or like the rest of the build in general, is kind of leaning more towards that darker side. But so I do end up changing that eventually. And then for this little room, I felt like it was needed just to like kind of block that space off, and so I just turned it into a bathroom. It's just like a small little bathroom. Obviously probably not ideal to have that big of a window in your bathroom, and I kind of just had to shove the sink next to the window and everything, just because with the way the door is and like it's just not that big of a space. That's the way it fit best, so that's what I went with. And I feel like lately, because I have been building like houses and lots that kind of are supposed to be like more like old vibes and everything, I've been using a lot of like the bathroom stuff that I normally never use, because I normally just like clean cut like bathrooms and everything that are like more modern. But lately I've been using like the other packs that have like really funky looking toilets and stuff like that. And so it's kind of fun to kind of veer out of my norm. And I really like the red here, so that's why I ended up going with like a darker kind of vibe for the rest of the house. And I even like changed the door that I originally had, because I just felt like that kind of gave me more fairy tale vibes. And I even decided, because I'm pretty sure I've almost never used that tiling and the floor tiling for that bathroom. So I ended up doing like a very different bathroom than what I normally do, because I normally pretty much do almost the same bathroom in all of my builds, because it's just, it looks nice. And so, like I said, I'm kind of proud of myself for using things that I normally don't use. And I had a problem with the roofing kind of intersecting with the house. So there was that one little spot right there where the roofing was kind of acting as the wall in the bathroom. And so I pretty much just had to figure out a way to cover that. I was gonna try and put the shower there, but it just didn't make space. It didn't make sense in the space that, you know, I had. So what I did instead is I just used that little extra like nook space that was there and turned that into like a what is the word? Like standalone toilet situation. I don't know, a separate toilet situation. And what I did for that little wall area, you'll eventually see in a few minutes, or a few seconds hopefully, I basically just kind of tried to cover it up. So at first I kind of just put like a cabinet situation right there, and then I eventually went and I flipped some of the like cabinet stuff so it was backwards, and I just kind of put it there so it kind of looked like just like some paneling, because I felt like that looked better than like brick being in the house. But it's still not the best and the most ideal situation, but again, I thought it was better than having random brick in the house. I really wish that I was able to cover it up better, and I just wish it wasn't like that in general. But the way the roofing was and how I wanted it to not like intersect, that just was bound to happen with how that was going. But I think it turned out fine. It's not ideal, but it was okay. And I feel like I've been using this bed a lot. I normally obviously don't use this bed that often because it's just so, you know, fancy schmancy, and like it's definitely a statement bed, so I normally don't really go for it too often. But I feel like, again, with building like these older houses and older styles, I've been gravitating more towards it. And also just like fairy tales, you know, between like doing the Disney Princess Challenge and then obviously coming up with an idea of doing a fairy tale storybook build, it kind of just is fitting. And I feel like maybe I'm not even like that big of a like fantasy fairy tale person, but like I have an idea for another build, and it's very much on brand of like a fantasy fairy tale vibe. So hopefully I'll build something different in between that before I post it, since you're already going to be getting this storybook build. But that's definitely something that I've been working on, but I haven't like done too much with it, so I should probably have other builds coming out before that one, so there's at least a little bit of a break in between. But back to the actual build. So I made this area into kind of like a little office area because I figured obviously this isn't necessarily just like one, maybe two people living in this house. So, you know, they have like a little office space, and I don't know if I did put that in there, but I would assume that they would most likely be using like the cottage living like computer that's like kind of like a typewriter kind of vibe. But I really struggled with just like adding in things because like it's just not my go-to typical style. So I was just like unsure of whether or not like that certain things that I was adding made sense and looked okay. But I think at the end of the day, it was pretty decent, because like this, I wasn't sure if it was like too much wood on wood. And I don't think I ever put like a carpet or anything underneath that to like break it up a little bit, which I probably should have, but I didn't. And then I decided to add, I think they're called spandrels, right? I don't know. I know nothing about architecture really, but I think they're called spandrels. So I just added that because I felt like it really added to that storybook kind of vibe. And then I felt like the house, like on the outside, kind of needed a little bit more something. So I added the little flower pot things there, and then just to fill up the space in the entryway a little bit, I added a little table. That's the table that kind of matches with the dining table, so I figured that would work really well together, but I just used the one that has the green added to it, since there are some accents of green, just to like maybe help it make a little bit more sense of the build, because I don't really think the green door makes sense with the red walls, but I really like the green door from the outside, so I wanted to keep it. So, you know, we just add a little bit more green, so hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. And I actually really like the cabinets that come with the for rip pack, so I added those, but I wasn't able to like really fit in another cabinet that made sense, so I just ended up using the little shelving. So I added that, and then of course I have to make sure I've been doing, I think, a pretty good job at going back and remembering to add in actual like regular like lighting that kind of fits the vibe of the actual build, instead of always leaving in the saucer lights, because I do that all the time. So I've been trying to do better at intentionally going back and changing out the lights so it makes more sense with the build. And I wasn't really sure of what to put over the dining table, so I just ended up putting a random light over there. I don't know if it really makes sense, but that's what I went with. And I also wasn't sure of like what little knick-knacky things to put on the table, so I really struggled with that, but I eventually just moved the, what is it called? The gnome that's on the bottom on top of the table, and I just like shrink it down because I really couldn't find anything that like I felt would really fit in with like that kind of area and make sense. So I just went with that. And then here I'm just trying to add in a little bit of clutter in the kitchen, and then add in some things to fill up the shelves on top. That was like the one thing that's like a little bit annoying, is just trying to place things on those shelves, because it doesn't really like auto place, like very few things do. And then also you kind of just want it to like be like scrunched up together a little bit and like in a certain way, so it's a little tedious to do that. And then also trying to just find things that would make sense in that area was a little annoying. A lot of the stuff I obviously definitely had to shrink down because they were just a little too big, but I tried to make it so it made sense of like what you would want to have on the higher shelves versus the bottom shelves. So I tried to make it make sense, but you know, I don't know if it really does. But I figured, you know, you want to keep the cookies away, so like people aren't, you know, getting into the cookie jar. And then I had like tea and stuff on like the lower shelves, and like hot chocolate and all of that. So like it's a little bit more easy to reach compared to the other things. But I honestly, at this point, I literally just built this not too long ago, but I honestly kind of don't remember what else I did. So I am obviously now working on the outside. I did struggle a little bit with finding like I wanted like a stone staircase because I just felt like that would make more sense, but I couldn't find anything that like worked well with the outside, because the outside is really light. And I just couldn't find anything as far as stone wise that worked really well, so I ended up switching to like more of a wood staircase, so it like could match better. And I also struggled with finding a foundation situation that also like matched really well, and I didn't want to delete the little walls on the stairs because I felt like that would make sense to have the walls on the stairs for this kind of build. So I really struggled with trying to match that with like match a wallpaper with the foundation, but it's not a perfect match, but I think it's decent. And I really wasn't sure because like the outside was so light, and the foundation that I found that looked the best to me wasn't as light. I wish I could have found a different foundation that like looked better with the build, but that was the best that I could find. But I am just kind of adding a few little bits and pieces to kind of make the yard look a little bit better. I figured they would probably have like a little bonfire situation so they could like, you know, tell stories by the fire and roast some marshmallows, and then I made a little pathway. I really wanted to possibly find another place to build this build because I hated how in the world they have that like big patch of like stone right there, and it just doesn't have anything to like match that, and I wanted it to be much more whimsical, so I wanted it to not be like a perfect path, so I wanted to have like that little cobblestone kind of vibe path, so I kind of hated that, but I worked with what I could as far as that, because I can't really control that. You know, the Sims team decided that it would be good to have that big patch of stone in front of this lot, unfortunately. I wish you could change that or find stuff that matches better, but it's fine. But the video is coming to an end, so I will leave you guys here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!